Basic Meditation Practice by Ajahn Brahmavamsa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Part 1. The goal of this meditation practice is the wondrous tranquility, steadiness, and clarity of the mind. Meditation is a way to practice letting go. When we meditate, we let go of the complicated external world so that we can move toward the calm inner world. In all mystical systems and in many traditions, meditation is known as the path to a peaceful and powerful mind. The experience of this purified mind, freed from the world, is extraordinarily delightful and joyous. Usually, during meditation, we face many difficult tasks, but you should resolve to endure those difficulties because they will help you experience wonderful, meaningful states. These states are well worth our efforts. A natural law is that without effort, we cannot make progress. Whether as a layperson or a monastic, if you do not make the effort, you will not get anywhere in meditation or in anything else. However, effort alone is not enough. Effort must be skillful. This means you direct your energy to the right place and maintain that energy until the work is completed. Skillful effort does not impede or trouble you. On the contrary, it creates a marvelous peacefulness at a deep level of concentration. To know where to direct your efforts, you need to clearly understand the goal of meditation. That goal is the wondrous tranquility, steadiness, and clarity of the mind. If you understand that goal, you will see exactly where you need to direct your efforts and the means to achieve that goal. That effort must be directed toward letting go, toward cultivating a mind willing to relinquish. One of the simple yet profound teachings of the Buddha is, a meditator whose mind inclines toward letting go will easily attain samadhi, concentration. That meditator almost automatically attains states of inner bliss. What the Blessed One meant is that the primary cause for attaining deep meditation, for reaching those powerful states, is a determined resolve to renounce, let go, and relinquish. During meditation, we should not develop a mind that merely accumulates or clings to things. Rather, we need to develop a mind ready to discard everything, to put aside all burdens. Outside of meditation, we carry countless responsibilities like heavy luggage on our shoulders, but during meditation, we do not need all that baggage. So, while meditating, see how much baggage you can discard, view things as burdens, as weights pressing on you. This is the right attitude to reject them, to willingly cast them aside without turning back. It is exactly that effort, that attitude, that mental action of turning toward letting go, which takes you deeper into concentration. Even in the initial stages of meditation, see how much energy you can generate to let go, willingly discard everything. Gradually, letting go will happen. When you can let go of everything in the mind, you will feel lighter, see more clearly, and be freer. In this meditation method, letting go occurs in stages, one step at a time. You can go through the early stages quickly if you wish, but be cautious. Sometimes, if you rush through the initial stages, you will realize that the preparation has not been fully completed. It is like trying to build a multi-story house on a weak foundation. You might build quickly, but it will also collapse quickly. So, spend plenty of time on the foundation and on the first floor so that the foundation is solid and stable. By doing so, when you move up to higher levels, the bliss of meditation will also be solid and stable. In the meditation teaching I offer, I often begin with a very simple stage. Let go of the baggage of the past and the future. Sometimes you may think that's too easy, too basic. Nevertheless, if you pour all your effort into it without hastily rushing to higher stages until you have correctly achieved the first goal of firmly establishing your attention in the present moment, later on you will see that you have laid a solid foundation for building upon it the higher levels. Letting go of the past means not thinking about your job, your family, your commitments, your memories, or past joys and sorrows. You discard everything that has passed by no longer concerning yourself with it. You become someone with no history for the duration of the meditation. You do not even think about where you come from, your place of birth, who your parents are, or how you were raised. All that history is to be left behind while meditating. In that way, Everyone in the meditation hall becomes equal, just meditators. It doesn't matter how many years you have meditated or whether you're somewhat experienced or just beginning. If you can let go of all that history, then we're all equal and we're all free. We free ourselves from those concerns, perceptions, and thoughts that limit us and block the arising of calm that results from letting go. Eventually, each page of your history is relinquished even events that happened to you since coming to this retreat, and even what happened just a few minutes ago. By doing so, you carry no burden from the past into the present moment. Whatever just happened, you no longer pay attention to it and let it flow away. You do not allow the past to affect your mind. You can think of letting go for mental training as if in a small, padded, soundproof room. Whenever an experience, perception, or thought hits the padded walls, it does not bounce back. It sinks into the padding and stops right there. So you do not let the past produce any echo in your mind. This applies both to yesterday and to all the distant past, because now we are training the mind to renounce, throw everything away, and set down all burdens. Some people think that by going back over the past, they can learn lessons and solve lingering problems. However, you should realize that whenever you look back at the past, you always do so through distorted lenses. Whatever you think it was, that's not actually how it was. Indeed, many people argue about what really happened, even if it occurred just minutes earlier. Traffic investigators know this well. Even though an accident happened just half an hour ago, two honest witnesses might still give two different accounts. Our memories are unreliable. When you understand that your memory is unreliable, you will stop giving importance to recalling the past and instead let it go. You can bury it, just like burying a dead person. You place the corpse in a coffin and bury it or cremate it. Finished. Do not keep clinging to the past. Do not keep carrying that coffin of moments long gone inside your mind. If you do, you are weighing yourself down with burdens that are not really yours. Letting the past slip away allows you the freedom to be in the present moment. As for the future, your plans, worries, projects, and expectations, you should likewise let them go. The Buddha once spoke about the future. Whatever we think it will be, it will always turn out differently. A wise person sees the future as obscure and uncertain, hard to know and predict. Predicting the future is generally foolish, a waste of time, especially during meditation. When you deal with the mind, you may find it so strange that it can perform wondrous things beyond imagination. A common experience among meditators is that when they're having a really hard time and unsettled mind, they might be sitting there thinking, "Here we go again, another hour of frustration." Yet right at the moment they start predicting another failure, something unexpected happens, and the mind becomes very peaceful. Not long ago, I heard about someone who joined a 10-day retreat for the first time. After the first day, his body hurt so much he asked to go home. The teacher said, "Stay just one more day, and I guarantee the pain will pass." He stayed, the pain did not ease, so he wanted to leave again. The teacher repeated, "Give it just one more day, and the pain will vanish." He stayed on the third day, and the pain got worse. Over the following days, every afternoon he would complain to the teacher and insist on going home. But each time, the teacher would say, "Just one more day, and the pain will go." Finally, on the morning of the last day, when he began to sit, the pain suddenly disappeared and never returned. He could sit for long periods without any discomfort. He was stunned by this unexpected result and had no idea how his mind had brought about such a remarkable change. So, you can never predict the future. It is always strange and unexpected, far beyond your guesses. Experiences like that bring wisdom and courage to abandon all thoughts of the future, along with any expectations. While meditating, you may think, "How many more minutes until the bell rings?" Or, "How much longer must I endure this?" That is wandering into the future. The pain might disappear in a flash. Next moment, you could be free from it. You cannot predict what will happen. After a few difficult meditation sessions, you might think none of them go well. Then at your next sitting, your mind settles down easily. You think, "Wow, I can now meditate well." But the next session may again be difficult and disheartening. How strange is that? My first teacher once told me something that at first seemed odd. There is no such thing as a bad meditation session. He was right. All those sessions that you call bad, where you're frustrated, failing your expectations, are precisely the times you put in the hardest work and earn your meditation paycheck. It is like someone working all day Monday, but not getting paid at the end of the day. And he thinks, why am I doing this? The same happens on Tuesday, no money again. He might think, another terrible day. On Wednesday and Thursday, it's still the same 4 rough days in a row without pay. Then on Friday, after the same kind of work, the boss comes and hands him his paycheck. Wow, why isn't every day payday? Why isn't every meditation session a payday? Now, do you understand this analogy? It is exactly during those challenging sits that you are building up your meditation capital, laying the conditions for calm that will come later. When these conditions are fulfilled, your mind will sink into peaceful meditation and you'll feel that it's payday. Therefore, most of the real work is done in those difficult sessions. At a recent retreat in Sydney, a woman told me during her practice interview that she'd been angry with me the entire day for 2 different reasons. In her earlier difficult sessions, she got upset that I didn't ring the bell earlier to end the sitting. Later, when she finally entered a wonderful state of calm, she got angry that I rang the bell too soon. Actually, all those sessions lasted exactly the same amount of time an hour each. It is not easy to make everyone happy when you are in charge of ringing the bell. When you think about the future, you tend to ask, how many minutes until the bell rings? Or, what else do I have to do? That is how you torment yourself, shouldering a burden that is not yours to carry. So be careful not to pick up that heavy suitcase labeled, how many minutes left until the bell rings? Or, what must I do next? If those are the things you are thinking about, you are neglecting what is happening now. You are not meditating. You are wandering off, inviting trouble upon yourself. At this stage of meditation, keep your attention right in the present moment. To the extent that you forget what day it is or what time it is, whether it's morning or afternoon, you simply do not know. All you know is this moment right now. In doing so, you reach a marvelous schedule of training in which you meditate in the present moment without knowing how many minutes have gone by or how many remain, not even which day it is. Once, when I was a young monk in Thailand, I forgot which year it was. It was wonderfully liberating to live in a timeless realm, much more comfortable than the time-bound realm we usually inhabit. In that timeless realm, you experience the present moment as the wise have done for 1,000 years. It never changes. You step into the reality of now, which is radiant and astonishing. By letting go of all past and future, it is as though you are reborn. You are right here, fully awake. That is the first stage of meditation sustained awareness in the present moment. Reaching that state, you have achieved a great deal. You have let go of the first burden that hinders deep concentration. Therefore, devote much time and energy to establishing this first stage firmly before proceeding. Then we will guide this present moment awareness to the next, subtler stage of meditation, the silent present moment awareness. Part 2. Silence gives rise to wisdom and clarity, far more than thinking does. In part 1, I sketched out the aim of meditation, the wondrous tranquility, steadiness, and clarity of the mind, which is the womb that nurtures profound insight. I also indicated the main path, like a sturdy thread running through the practice, which is letting go of all material and mental burdens. Finally, in part 1, I described in detail the practice leading to what I call the first stage of meditation. That stage is attained when the practitioner rests comfortably in the present moment for a prolonged, uninterrupted period. I emphasized, the present reality is radiant and marvelous. By getting there, you have accomplished a great deal. You have shed the first burden hindering deep concentration. Yet, even after making significant progress, the meditator must go deeper still, toward a calmer and more genuinely beautiful state of mind. Here, we must understand the difference between silent, present moment awareness and thinking about that state. Consider watching a tennis match on television. You might notice that there are actually 2 matches happening at once, the one you see on the screen and the one you hear described by the commentator. Indeed, if Australia is playing New Zealand, the tone of the Australian commentator or the New Zealanders will differ greatly from what is really happening. Commentary is often biased. In this analogy, watching the match without commentary is similar to silent awareness in meditation, and focusing on the commentator's words while watching is like thinking about that silent awareness. You should realize that you come closer to truth when you simply observe without comment, when you simply experience silent, present moment awareness. Sometimes, through your inner commentary, you think you know the world. But actually, those mental words create illusions and suffering, pushing you into anger at enemies or dangerous attachments to those you love. That internal talk generates every problem in life: fear, guilt, anxiety, depression. It builds illusions, much like skilled commentators on television who manipulate viewers' emotions, from anger to sadness, sometimes bringing tears. If you want to discover truth, you have to value silent awareness over your thinking. Because of the excessive importance we give our thoughts, silent awareness faces serious obstacles. Carefully remove that inflated value you place on your thoughts and recognize the genuine worth of silent awareness, a source of wisdom. That is precisely what helps accomplish the second stag silent present moment awareness. One of the best ways to overcome internal commentary is to develop extremely refined present moment awareness, so refined that you must closely observe each instant without any spare time to comment on what just happened. A thought is typically a commentary about some experience that just occurred. For example, that was good or that was bad. What just happened? All that commentary refers to an experience that has just passed. When you comment on an experience that just passed, you cannot remain focused on the new experience arising right now. You are entertaining old guests, ignoring the ones who have just arrived. Imagine your mind as a host at a party, greeting guests at the door. One guest arrives, and you greet him and start a conversation with him about this and that. Meanwhile, you fail to greet the newly arriving guests. Guests keep arriving, but you can only greet the next one if you immediately turn from the one you just welcomed. You have no time to chat, however briefly, because that would mean missing the latest arrival. In meditation, every experience enters the mind through the doorway of the senses, one after another. If you greet an experience with awareness, but then start a conversation commentary with that guest, you will miss the next experience that follows. If you fully live in each instant with every arriving experience in total mindfulness, there is no more room for mental commentary. You cannot talk to yourself because you are completely engaged in receiving each new experience. That is a form of refined present moment awareness, so refined that it becomes silent awareness of the present. You discover that in cultivating a deeper silence of the mind, it is as though discarding yet another huge burden. It is as though you have been carrying a heavy backpack for 40 or 50 years, trudging through countless miles. Now you feel courageous and wise enough to slip off that backpack and place it on the ground for a while. You feel extraordinarily comfortable, light, and free because you are no longer crushed under the internal chatter. Another method to develop silent awareness is to notice the pauses between thoughts or between the whispers in your mind. You carefully follow, with sharp mindfulness, when one thought ceases and before the next one begins there. That gap is silent awareness. Initially, the interval might be brief, but once you perceive that fleeting moment of silence, you become familiar with it, and as you get used to it, it extends. You start to enjoy that stillness, and eventually, you discover how blissful and valuable it really is. Silence will nurture wisdom and insight much more than thoughts. When you notice that inner silence is so delightful and beneficial, it becomes important and compelling to you. The mind continuously seeks it out, to the point that you only think when truly necessary, when it's genuinely helpful, because you understand that most thoughts lead nowhere and only cause headaches. You are then happy to spend more time dwelling in that quiet inner space. Hence, the second stage of this meditation method is silent present moment awareness. You can devote most of your time to developing these first two stages because once you attain them, you have already gone far in meditation. With silent awareness in the now, you will experience so much calm and joy, and following that, wisdom. If you wish to delve deeper, instead of silently attending to whatever arises in the mind, you focus silently on a single object. That one object could be the breath, loving kindness, metta, a colored circle appearing in the mind, kasina, or another less common object used as the focus of mindfulness. Here, I will describe silent, present moment awareness of the breath, the third stage of this meditation practice. Concentrating on one single object means letting go of the troublesome diversity and moving toward its opposite, which is unity. As the mind begins to unite, sustaining awareness of just that one object, the resulting calm, joy, and energy become markedly stronger. You will realize that dealing with multiple aspects of consciousness at once, like 6 telephones ringing together on a desk, is a heavy load. Letting go of all that complexity down to a single phone line, a personal lineage, a profound release that yields peace. Understanding diversity as a burden is crucial for the mind to remain settled on the breath. If you have thoroughly developed silent present moment awareness for a lengthy period, it will be easy when you decide to shift attention to the breath. You can focus on it for minutes on end without losing track. That is because you have conquered the 2 major obstacles to breath meditation. The first is the tendency to roam back into the past or forward into the future. The second is the internal commentary. Therefore, I emphasize the 2 preparatory stages: sustained present moment awareness and silent present moment awareness, because they are essential for higher levels of breath meditation. I often see meditators trying to do breath meditation while their minds still jump between past and future, their mindfulness lost in internal chatter. Without proper preparation, they find breath meditation difficult and eventually give up in frustration. They give up because they did not start in the right place. They did not complete the necessary preliminary tasks before choosing the breath as their point of focus. So, once you have fully prepared your mind in these 2 stages, you will find sustaining attention on the breath quite straightforward. If you still find it difficult to maintain mindfulness on the breath, that's a sign you have moved too quickly over the first 2 stages. Return and master them. Skillful patience is the quickest way forward. When focusing on the breath, be aware of what is happening in this very instant. You know how you sense the breath, whether it's going in or out or pausing. Some teachers instruct focusing on the tip of the nose, others on the abdomen, or still others advise following it to various places. From my experience, you can be aware of the breath anywhere. Actually, it is best not to fixate on a specific location at all. If you do so at the nose tip, that becomes awareness of the nose tip rather than the breath. Focusing on the abdomen becomes awareness of the abdomen. Right now, just ask yourself, am I breathing in or out? How do you know? That sensation that tells you what the breath is doing is the object you should be focusing on. It does not matter where that sensation comes from. Simply attend to the experience itself. A common difficulty at this point is trying to control the breath, making it uncomfortable. To overcome that, imagine yourself as a passenger looking through the window at the breath. You are not the driver at the wheel, nor the backseat driver. So stop issuing instructions, just let it be and enjoy the ride. Let the breath breathe itself while you simply observe without interfering. When you know every in-breath and out-breath continuously for about 100 breaths in a row without missing anything, you have reached what I call the 3rd stage. Sustained mindfulness of the breath. This becomes even more peaceful and happy than the previous stage. To go further, aim at complete mindfulness of the breath. The 4th stage, complete sustained mindfulness of the breath, occurs when you track the breath at every moment. You know it the instant it begins, precisely when the feeling of that breath arises. Then you observe how that sensation develops through the entire duration of one in-breath, never missing a single moment as the breath comes in. When the in-breath ends, you know it right then. You can see the final movement of that in-breath. Then you notice a brief pause or a series of small pauses before the out-breath starts. You see the very beginning of the out-breath and all the subsequent sensations as it proceeds until it vanishes when done. You do all of this silently, fully in the present moment. You experience each part of every in-breath and out-breath continuously, without missing an instant, over hundreds of breaths. Hence, this stage is called complete, sustained mindfulness of the breath. You cannot reach this stage by force, grabbing, or clinging. You can only arrive at such concentration by letting go of absolutely everything else in the entire universe except the present moment experience of the breath in silence. It is not you attaining this stage, it is the mind that attains it. The mind itself does the work. The mind recognizes that unifying with the breath in each moment is peaceful and comfortable, simply because it is alone with the breath. This is where the doer, the one who acts, who manipulates, starts to disappear. At this level of meditation, you will notice that progress seems to happen almost effortlessly. All you do is step aside, let go, and watch carefully whatever happens. When you leave it alone, the mind naturally inclines toward the simplicity, tranquility, and ease of being unified with the breath from moment to moment. This is the mind unifying in time and in peaceful stillness. I call the fourth stage a springboard in the meditation because from here you can leap into blissful states. As you calmly maintain this unity of awareness without interfering in the breath begins to fade. What was once coarse and ordinary becomes gently refined, turning into a peaceful, beautiful breath. At this point, the mind recognizes the breath's tranquility as remarkably beautiful. The mind experiences a profound contentment. It relishes just being with this wonderful breath. No forcing is needed. The mind stays willingly with this pleasant breath. You do not have to do anything. If you try to do something, you will disturb the whole process and lose that beauty like landing on a snake's head in the game Snakes and Ladders and being sent back many squares. From this phase of the meditation onward, the doer, the controlling agent, must vanish, leaving only the knower, which observes passively. There is a small trick you can use to help you get to this stage. You momentarily interrupt the inner silence just once by very softly saying to yourself, "Calm down, that is all." At this point in the practice, the mind is often so sensitive that such a gentle command is sufficient to make the mind quietly follow. The breath then eases, and the beautiful breath appears. Once you are passively watching this beautiful breath in the present moment, your awareness of inhalation versus exhalation, or the beginning, middle, and end of each breath, is allowed to vanish. What you experience now is merely the present perception of the beautiful breath, happening so gently and continuously that it barely changes. Do nothing at all, just behold how this gentle, lovely, timeless breath occurs. See how peaceful it can become. Let yourself have plenty of time to savor the sweetness of the beautiful breath, gradually becoming even more gentle and delightful than ever. Eventually, the breath disappears on its own, not because you want it to go, but because it has become so subtle that only beauty remains. What is left is a non-physical beauty, the sole object of the mind. At this point, the mind is experiencing only the mind, having fully let go of the breath, the body, thoughts, and the external world. What remains is just beauty peace, happiness, light, or whatever label perception may assign. You are now experiencing only that abstract beauty, silently and continuously, effortlessly. By now, you have let go of internal chatter and have discarded describing or evaluating. The mind is still and unwavering, making it impossible to speak. Here, you encounter the first fruit of mental happiness. That happiness grows, becoming stronger and steadier. Then, you enter the meditative absorptions known as jhanas. However, that belongs to part 3 of this little book. Part 3. Absolutely do nothing and observe how the subtle, beautiful, timeless breath occurs. Parts 1 and 2 describe the first 4 stages of meditation. 1. Sustained awareness of the present moment. 2. Silent present moment awareness. 3. Silent present moment awareness of the breath. 4. Complete sustained mindfulness of the breath. Each stage must be carefully practiced and fully developed before moving to the next. If you rush through these stages of relinquishment, you will not reach the higher stages, like trying to build a tall structure on a weak foundation. The first floor would be built too quickly, then the second and third likewise. By the time you attempt the 4th floor, the entire structure starts to sway. If you go for a 5th floor, the whole building collapses. So please spend ample time on the first 4 stages, making them solid before proceeding to the 5th. You should be able to remain in the fourth stage complete, sustained mindfulness of the breath, observing every moment of the breath for a couple hundred consecutive breaths or more, quite comfortably. I do not mean you should count them at this point, only to give you a measure of how long you need to settle in the fourth stage before going deeper. In meditation, patience is always the fastest route. The fifth stage is called complete sustained mindfulness of the beautiful breath. Normally, this stage flows naturally and seamlessly from the previous one. When you have effortlessly and continuously stayed with every moment of the breath, without any break, the breath becomes very gentle. From something coarse, it turns into a peaceful, calm, beautiful breath. The mind recognizes this amazing breath and enjoys it deeply, experiencing profound satisfaction. The mind is happy simply to stay there quietly watching the beautiful breath. The mind needs no prompting or pressure. It naturally settles into this lovely breath. You, personally, do not have to do anything. If you try, you will disturb it, lose the beauty, and land back where you were. The doer, the controlling agent, must fade from this stage onward only. The knower, the observer, should remain. A skillful device to accomplish this total letting go is to sincerely trust in the beautiful breath. Briefly interrupt the inner stillness, oh so softly, and say as though whispering in your mind that you place your full trust in the breath, which immediately dissolves all interference from the doer. Then the mind represented by the beautiful breath you see will take over by itself while you just watch. You do not need to do anything, because the radiant beauty of the breath alone is enough to hold your attention without your help. At this point, be careful not to judge or compare. Questions like, what is this? Is this jhana? What do I do next? Are the doer's way of intruding again. Such queries disrupt the process. You can only reflect on your experience after the journey is over. A skillful scientist does not start analyzing in the middle of the experiment, but waits until all the data is collected. Now is not the time to judge or analyze, nor to focus on details of the beautiful breath. Is it round or oval? Are the edges sharp or blurry? Those details are irrelevant diversions, bringing internal fragmentation and agitation. Let the mind drift wherever it wants, usually toward the center of this breath's beauty where the light is most brilliant and pure. Float in that delight, with your attention drawn to the center, falling right into the breath, or feeling as though the radiance envelops you. In truth, it's the same experience described from two perspectives. Let yourself be fully immersed in bliss. Eventually, the breath fades away completely, leaving only beauty. This non-physical beauty alone becomes the exclusive object of the mind. Here, the sixth stage, experiencing the beautiful nimita, appears. The Pali word nimita means a sign or a mental image. It is a real mental object, sita, and when it first arises, it feels novel. We have never experienced anything like it before. However, perception, sanya, searches our memory bank for something remotely similar to describe to the mind. For many meditators, this non-physical beauty, this mental joy is experienced as a shining light. In truth, it is not light. Your eyes are closed, vision has long since shut down. This is the mind consciousness freed from the five senses. It is as if the full moon, the radiant mind, emerges from behind clouds, the five physical senses. It is the mind shining, not an actual light, but it is perceived as light because that is the best approximation your perception can produce. Other meditators may perceive it differently, perhaps as a calm or ecstatic feeling rather than visual brightness. But the physical sense of touch was also closed off long ago, so it is not a physical sensation. It just feels like bliss. Others see a white light or a golden star or a jewel-like emerald. The essential point is that they are all describing the same thing. They are experiencing a purely mental object, while the specific details reflect different perceptions. You can identify a genuine nimita from 6 characteristics. 1. It only appears after the 5th stage, after abiding continuously with the beautiful breath for a long time. 2. It appears when the breath disappears. 3. It only arises when the 5 external senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, are completely absent. 4. It appears in a mind that is very still, without any verbal thinking. 5. It is strange but powerfully attractive. 6. It is a simple yet utterly beautiful object. I mention these characteristics so that you can distinguish a true nimita from an imagined one. The 6th stage is called experiencing the beautiful nimita. We reach this stage when we have completely abandoned the body, thoughts, and the 5 senses, including mindfulness of the breath, to the point that only the nimita remains. Sometimes, when the nimita first appears, it may seem faint. In that case, return immediately to the previous stage, that is, continuous silent awareness of the beautiful breath, because you have moved on to the nimita prematurely. Other times, the nimita appears bright but does not remain steady. It flashes briefly like a lighthouse beam, then vanishes. This similarly indicates you have abandoned the beautiful breath too soon. You need to remain patiently content with the beautiful breath for a considerable time until the mind is strong enough to hold the more subtle nimita steadily. The main reason a nimita remains faint is that satisfaction is still shallow. You still want something, usually a clearer nimita or to attain jhana. Remember well, jhana states are states of letting go, utterly profound contentment. Therefore, discard all craving and develop deeper satisfaction with the beautiful breath, and then the nimita and jhanas will naturally arise. In other words, the nimita is still weak because the doer keeps interfering instead of disappearing entirely. The doer is the controller, the backseat driver, meddling with things not its concern and messing everything up. Deep meditation is a natural process of coming to rest, and it demands that you step completely out of the way. Deep meditation happens only when you truly let go, and true letting go means the entire process is beyond any interference from the doer. A skillful tool to achieve this total relinquishment is putting your trust in the nimita. Pause your inner silence for a moment, and with the gentlest mental voice, tell it you entrust everything to it, giving up all attempts to control and letting the doer vanish. The mind, revealed through this nimita, takes over the entire process while you simply witness whatever occurs. There is nothing you need to do, for the nimita's radiant beauty alone effortlessly sustains mindfulness. At this moment, be careful not to evaluate or label. That doer will sneak back in and spoil everything if you ask yourself, what is this? Is this jhana? What's next? Let go of analysis. You can reflect only once the journey is over. A scientist waits until the experiment finishes before drawing conclusions. Do not analyze or explain just yet. There is no need to focus on the nimita's shape, whether it's round or oval, with sharp or fuzzy edges. Such details only add complexity, splitting your attention into inner versus outer and creating distractions. Let the mind drift naturally wherever it wishes, usually toward the center of the nimita, where beauty shines most intensely. Gently allow yourself to be carried along this pleasant journey until you merge into the nimita, or the dazzling light envelops you. Essentially, these are the same experience described from 2 angles. Enjoy this happiness. Let the 7th stage first jhana unfold. There are 2 common hindrances at the threshold of jhana: excitement and fear. Excitement arises when you become overjoyed deep. At that critical moment, the mind thinks, oh wow, this is it. You cannot enter jhana. That wow must be abandoned to preserve absolute passivity. Save the excitement for after emerging from jhana when it is rightly due. But an even more significant hindrance is fear arising when you realize the power and bliss of jhana, or realizing that to fully enter it, you must leave something behind, your sense of self. Even though the doer has grown silent before jhana, it still lingers. Inside jhana, the doer disappears entirely. The knower still operates perfectly, and you remain fully aware, but all control is lost. No thought can be formed, no decision made. Willpower is frozen, and if you have never experienced a state where you have zero control yet remain fully alert, it is understandably scary at first. Throughout your whole life, you have never been in such a position. This fear is specifically the fear of relinquishing something you hold very dear, your sense of will. This can be overcome through faith in the Buddha's teaching and through the powerful delight jhana promises. The Buddha repeatedly taught that the joy of jhana should not be feared but welcomed, cultivated, and repeatedly practiced. See the Ladakikapama Sutta, Minnesota 66. Thus, before fear arises, place your trust in that bliss, retaining confidence in the Buddha's teachings and his great disciples. Trust the Dhamma and allow Janna to embrace you in a completely effortless, body-free, selfless rapture of unmatched depth. Find the courage to forfeit control for a time and experience it directly. If it truly is Janna, it will last quite a while. Janna is just a few minutes. Usually, as you progress, Jannas can last for hours. Once you have entered it, there is no longer a choice. You emerge only when the mind is ready to exit, when the fuel of renunciation accumulated thus far is consumed. By nature, these states of profound fulfillment and stillness persist for a long time. Another sign is that Janna can only arise once the nimita is clearly established as described above. Additionally, within Janna, it is impossible to feel your body, such as physical pain, hear external sounds, or think even a wholesome thought. Only a single, radiant, non-dualistic perception of pure bliss endures, unchanging, for a long time. It is not a trance, but rather an intensely heightened state of awareness. I mention these facts so that you can discern whether what you think is Janna is actually that or just imagination. There is much more to meditation, but here I have outlined a basic method of 7 stages, culminating at the first Janna. There is more to discuss, such as the 5 hindrances, nivarana, and how to overcome them, the meaning of mindfulness and how to apply it, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, satipatthana, the 4 bases of success, iddhipada, the 5 faculties, indriya, and of course, the higher jhana levels. All of these subjects relate to the practice described here, but let us save them for another time. For those who mistake this for mere samatha, tranquility, practice with no connection to vipassana, insight, please understand that this is neither exclusively samatha nor vipassana. This practice is called bhavana, meditation, cultivation, the method taught by the Buddha and practiced in the Thai forest tradition of Northeast Thailand, to which my teacher Ajahn Chah belonged. Ajahn Chah often reminded us that samatha and vipassana cannot be separated, nor can they be developed without right view, right thinking, right action, and the subsequent factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. Indeed, to progress through these 7 stages, meditators need to understand and practice the Dhamma taught by the Buddha, keeping their morality pure. Wisdom is needed at every stage, specifically the wisdom of letting go, renunciation. As one progresses further along the 7 stages, insight deepens. If you do attain jhana, that experience transforms your entire understanding. It is as though wisdom dances around jhana, and jhana also dances around wisdom. This is the path leading to nibbana. For the Buddha said, one who abides in the bliss of jhana can achieve one of 4 results: stream, entry, once, return, non-return, or arahantship, Pasadika Sutta DN 29.